All right, today we are unpacking one of the wildest stock stories in recent memory. We're talking about how the pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly basically went from being a super steady, kind of boring company to an absolute market juggernaut. So how on earth did they do it? Let's get into it.
Okay, first things first, just look at this chart. I mean, seriously. You've got the S&P 500 doing its thing, you've got Lilly's competitors chugging along, and then you have Eli Lilly stock, LLY, just launching into a completely different universe. It's not just a little bit better, it's a total league of its own. This visual pretty much says it all. This was a shockwave.
So you've got to be asking the big question, right? How? How does a company that's been around for almost 150 years, since the 1870s, suddenly put up numbers like this? Is it just hype, dumb luck, or is there something real going on under the hood? Well, let's find out.
To really get what happened here, we have to rewind the clock a bit. We need to understand the company before the rocket took off, because for most of its life, Eli Lilly was, kind of a sleeping giant.
I mean, this company has a long and really respectable history. It was founded way back in 1876, played a huge part in making the polio vaccine, pioneered huge drugs like Humulin. It was always a solid, important company. But for investors, that just meant it was a defensive stock. Safe, reliable, but definitely not exciting.
And look, like all the other big pharma companies, Lilly was constantly dealing with major headwinds. You've got your biggest drugs losing patent protection, you've got politicians yelling about prices, regulators watching your every move, and you're spending billions on R&D that might go nowhere. So, a massive breakout like this, it seemed pretty much impossible.
So what changed? What was the catalyst that finally poked this sleeping giant? Well, it all boiled down to one single, truly revolutionary breakthrough.
And that breakthrough was a new class of drugs called GLP-1 agonists. Now, the idea behind them is actually fascinating. They work by copying a hormone that our own bodies make in our gut. It sounds simple, but that idea unlocked unbelievably powerful effects on both blood sugar and appetite. It was a complete paradigm shift.
And when the clinical trial data started coming out, wow, it was just a night and day difference. On the left, you see the old treatments, small improvements, so-so results. And on the right, that's what Lilly's drugs, Mounjaro and Zepbound, delivered. We're talking about a level of effectiveness for diabetes and weight loss that nobody had ever seen before. It was a whole new ballgame.
Okay, so the science was a total game changer, we get that. But how does that turn into one of the biggest financial stories of the decade? Let's follow the money and see what fueled this rocket ship.
The first thing investors saw was just the mind-boggling size of the opportunity. This wasn't some niche drug. This was a treatment for two of the biggest health crises on the planet, diabetes and obesity. The number of potential patients wasn't in the thousands or millions, it was in the hundreds of millions.
And this quote right here just nails the investor mindset. See, these are chronic conditions, so it's not like you take a pill once and you're done. This meant a steady, predictable, and absolutely enormous river of cash for years and years to come. That's the holy grail for Wall Street.
Then this funny thing started to happen. The demand was so insane that Lilly just couldn't make the drugs fast enough. Now, normally, running out of your product is a disaster, but in this case, it actually made the stock look even better. It was the ultimate proof that the demand wasn't just real, it was bigger than anyone's wildest dreams.
But hey, we all know the stock prices aren't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. They're about emotion, they're about psychology, they're about the story. And man, did the story around Eli Lilly catch fire.
What happened next was a classic momentum snowball effect. First, the incredible data comes out and the stock pops. Then, the media goes nuts and the hype machine kicks into high gear. And that's when you get a flood of new investors piling in, driven by that powerful fear of missing out, good old FOMO. Each step just fed the next, pushing the stock higher and higher.
And this, of course, set up the huge debate around the stock. You had the bulls on one side saying, this is a legitimate medical revolution and it's worth every penny. But then you had the bears on the other side saying, whoa, hold on, the hype has gotten out of control, perfection is priced in, and this is a bubble waiting to pop. And the thing is, you can kind of see both sides, which is what makes it so interesting.
So even after this absolutely incredible run, the story is not over. Not by a long shot. The company now faces a whole new playbook with new challenges and some pretty serious risks.
So what are the big worries? Well, first, competition. You can bet every other major drug company is racing to get a piece of this pie. Then you have the political pressure on pricing. These drugs are not cheap. And finally, they just have to execute. They have to actually make enough of this stuff for the entire world, which is a massive logistical challenge. Any stumble here could really hurt.
So when you step back, what are the big lessons from all this? Well, a few things really stand out. One, real, game-changing innovation is what truly creates value in the long run. Two, the market will throw money at companies that solve huge, widespread problems. But it's also a big reminder that a great story isn't enough. The numbers have to back it up eventually. And maybe most importantly, even the best company in the world can be a risky investment if the price gets too high.
At the end of the day, the Eli Lilly story is just this powerful case study of what happens when incredible science smashes into the world of finance. And it leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. If this is what happens when a company takes on diabetes and obesity, what's the next massive, world-changing problem that the next big innovator is going to solve?